closeness doesn't mean what you think. For humans, closeness is usually defined by visibility. We bring what matters closer to our face, our hands, our center. We hold, we touch, we look. We measure connection by how directly something enters our attention. That's why a dog on your lap feels meaningful. It's immediate. It's warm. It confirms something. You can see it, feel it, interpret it. But your dog doesn't organize closeness around attention. They organize it around awareness. And awareness, for them, doesn't sit in your hands or your face. It begins lower at your feet. Closeness doesn't mean what you think. For humans, closeness is usually defined by visibility. We bring what matters closer to our face, our hands, our center. We hold, we touch, we look. We measure connection by how directly something enters our attention. That's why a dog on your lap feels meaningful. It's immediate. It's warm. It confirms something. You can see it, feel it, interpret it. But your dog doesn't organize closeness around attention. They organize it around awareness. And awareness, for them, doesn't sit in your hands or your face. It begins lower, at your feet. The ground-level perspective. Your feet are not just another part of your body. They are where your balance lives. Every movement you make begins there, even if you're not conscious of it. Before you stand up, your weight shifts. Before you turn, your stance adjusts. Before you leave a room, there's a subtle preparation, something that happens quietly, almost invisibly, at ground level. You don't notice it, but your dog does, because they aren't watching you the way humans watch each other. They're not focused on expressions or deliberate gestures. They're tuned into patterns, small, consistent changes that happen beneath conscious behavior. From your feet, those patterns are clearer than anywhere else. It's the earliest signal your body gives, and your dog positions themselves exactly where those signals begin. Position, not preference. When a dog chooses your feet, it's easy to interpret it as preference, as if they simply like that spot. But it's not about liking. It's about placement. From that position, they don't need to search for information. They don't need to look up, adjust, or reorient themselves. Everything they need to understand your next move is already happening right where they are. If you shift, they feel it. If you prepare to stand, they sense it. If you hesitate, even slightly, it travels downward through your body before it becomes visible anywhere else. They are, in a quiet way, ahead of your actions, not because they predict the future, but because they're positioned at the source of it. A different kind of connection. There's something else embedded in this behavior that often gets overlooked. When a dog sits on your lap, it's an act of interaction. There's an exchange. They seek warmth, contact, reassurance. It's expressive. It asks for something, even if gently. But when they sit at your feet, they're not asking. They're maintaining. This is a form of connection that doesn't interrupt. It doesn't require acknowledgement. It exists without needing to be confirmed. They are connected to you not through attention, but through alignment. And alignment is quieter. Stability in a moving world. The human environment is unpredictable from a dog's perspective. People stand up suddenly, walk without warning, shift their focus from one thing to another without clear signals. Voices change, energy changes, movement happens without explanation. But your physical base, your stance, your grounding, remains more consistent than anything else. Your feet are where your body resolves itself before action. They are the most stable reference point you have. And dogs, by nature, are drawn to stability, not in an emotional sense, as we often frame it, but in a physical, spatial one. They choose the place where unpredictability becomes readable, where change becomes traceable. Your feet offer that. The quiet observation zone. There's a reason this behavior often goes unnoticed. It doesn't demand your attention. A dog on your lap interrupts your space. It shifts your awareness. You feel it, you respond to it, you acknowledge it. But a dog at your feet can remain there without changing anything about your immediate experience. You can be working, thinking, distracted, and they are still connected to you in a way that doesn't interfere. This is what makes it easy to overlook. And also what makes it so revealing, because it shows a form of closeness that isn't designed to be seen. Not distance, precision. It might look like distance, like they're choosing to stay lower, farther, less involved. But in reality, it's a more precise form of proximity. They are not positioning themselves where connection is most visible. They are positioning themselves where it is most accurate, where your internal shifts translate into physical signals, where intention becomes movement before you even recognize it yourself. From their perspective, this is not less closeness. It's a more efficient one. The misinterpretation. Humans often misunderstand this behavior because we filter it through our own expectations. We assume affection must look a certain way, that it must move toward the center, toward contact, toward visibility. So when a dog doesn't climb onto the lap, doesn't seek that higher form of closeness, it can feel like something is missing. But nothing is missing. The structure is simply different. Your dog is not avoiding closeness. They are choosing a version of it that operates beneath the surface of what humans typically notice. When it happens without you realizing. One of the most consistent patterns is how often this happens when your attention is elsewhere. You're focused on something, looking at a screen, thinking about something unrelated. And without any signal, without any transition you can clearly point to, your dog is already there. Settled, positioned, connected. It doesn't begin with a request. There's no approach that asks permission. It just happens. And by the time you notice it, the moment of decision is already gone. Reading you without looking at you. There's a subtle shift here that challenges how we think about understanding. Humans rely heavily on visual cues. Eye contact, facial expression, gestures. We look at each other to interpret meaning. Dogs don't need that in the same way. From your feet, they don't need to see your face to understand your state. They don't need eye contact to remain connected. They read through contact with the ground, through shifts in pressure, through the smallest changes in your balance. It's a different channel of information, one that doesn't depend on visibility. A connection that doesn't announce itself. This is perhaps the most important part. The connection your dog maintains at your feet doesn't declare itself. It doesn't signal. It doesn't perform. It doesn't try to be recognized. It simply exists. And because it doesn't announce itself, it often goes unacknowledged. But that doesn't make it weaker. If anything, it makes it more constant, because it isn't dependent on your response. So the next time your dog settles at your feet, pause for a moment before you interpret it. It's easy to assume they chose distance. But look again. They chose the point where your movement begins. The place where your body reveals what your mind hasn't yet acted on. They chose the part of you that stays consistent, even when everything else shifts. Not to be seen, not to be noticed, but to remain connected in a way that doesn't need to ask for anything. And in their world, that might be the closest place there is.